The Flash 793, Jeremy Adams writing with Roger Cruz on the art. This is part 4 of the 1 Minute War. Although the way it's written on the cover makes it look like it's part 4 of 60 because it's written like a time. I was like,
yeah.
Like, how many issues of this we getting? Jeez. Yeah. So, no, this is basically the family forming a plan. They've got like a frozen Superman who they know it down might eventually sort of adjust to the speed because he does move quicker than other people. So he might actually in some way comprehend that the stuff's happening around him, although it's all a bit of a blur. Whereas regular people are just like frozen in time; they can't see damn thing. But they're basically forming their plans. They're talking to the captive guy that they rescued from last issue, and he's pretty doom and gloom about everything. He's like, "Oh, we can't defeat them. I was like traveling through the multiverse when they grabbed me," and we get some sweet moments with Jesse and Irie. They end up teaming up together a little bit later, and they say things like Flash Girls rule, stuff like that. They write that in the tank thing. But it's basically forming a plan which involves Wally super speed force like adjusting his car to be the Flashmobile so they can drive it in and shut off like the Fraction Spire, which is what's like driving all their speed tech that's letting them do this. Because if they turn that off, I have to assume at that point the Flash family can just take them out as if it's nothing. Like they're screwed.
Because that's what this multiverse traveler is telling them, is that they have the edge because they can get the drop on people, and before they realize it, they're gone. But the fact that if the Flash can shut it off, I'm sure that they don't stand a chance, even with Miss Murder. I don't think they stand a chance against the Flash family.
Not at all. So they also have to take their parts in this plan, which is Wally's going to drive in and try and disrupt it. The others are going to try and open a barrier. Which at first it looks like it's a bunch of the guys that are doing that, but they're just a diversion to distract everyone. And Irie is left behind. She wants to go with everyone, but Jesse says, "No, stay back and guard everyone."
Yeah, she gets to guard Superman, and the rest of the people. She has the most important job.
And her brother,
like
who she reads comics to because she thinks maybe he can hear it.
So, that was also really sweet.
That was a sweet beat. It was a sweet beat. Obviously, they're just it is kind of like a patronizing job, but little did they know when they gave her that job that Miss Murder was going to show up and leave her like to fend for herself against the big villain of the whole thing.
I do hope this becomes Home Alone starring Irie West.
I mean, I'll get into it. There's a heart-to-heart between Barry and Wally where Barry reveals that Iris proposed and they were going to get married, and mentions that even like they remembered being married from a previous timeline, and like so they're kind of waiting for it to happen again. So it's kind of a sweet moment, and it's all built up that this might be a bit of a suicide mission for Wally. And of course, we're not at the end of the story yet. We have to get to the darkest part of the story. So it looks like Wally dies. Obviously, he's definitely not. But the car is like they've got like a safety mechanism that basically just like it's like a disruptor field that kind of vibrates the car. Wally tries to like vibrate away from it, and he can't. So we basically just have this like black smoke and a hole left where the car was. So it never made it to his destination. And the main Fraction guys like got Jay knocked out with the lightning rod thing. And Irie is running away from Miss Murder, who's now shown up to try and find all the heroes. So we're at the darkest part of the story. We're at the low point at the end of Act 2. So all hope seems lost, but I have no doubt the Flash family will succeed.
Oh yeah, for sure. Also, I do love with Jay, where the Fraction guys like that was your plan. Open up a section for a frontal assault, and Jay's like, "No, that'd just be stupid." And then it's it's the diversion, and that's where Wally drives through. I just thought that was so good, and then and then it zaps him, and you're like, "Oh crap!"
Yeah, it's Jesse and Linda who are actually opening the real part that Wally's going to drive through. And Wally's like darting around in the car, dodging their cannons and whatnot, but they have a defense mechanism that they didn't predict coming. No. So, I mean, obviously, like, it's a pretty straightforward issue, but it makes sense. There's some sweet moments between Irie and both Jesse and her brother. There's obviously the big heart-to-heart with Wally and Barry, which is quite enjoyable. I still don't believe that Iris is truly dead and is going to stay dead, of course, but it makes sense for them to have this beat here. So
yeah,
you know,
I'm sure she's because I remember reading something in the solicits about them mourning Iris, but I'm sure Adams has an ace up his sleeve with all of this stuff.
I'm sure.
So, I mean, it's not even the first time that a West family member's died and come back in the same story. So
not at all.
So it's still solid.
Yeah, Roger Crizzy's art is all right. It's got some fun beats. It's not the best art that's been on the book certainly, but he's definitely a solid enough hand, especially right now that they're doing these double shipping issues, so they're not obviously got one artist and everything.
For sure. Yeah, it gets a little bit scratchier towards the back, a little bit more of that sketch style. But again, it's not bad. It's just the style. It's a little bit more loose.
I like his action more than I think I like his faces in the scenes where it's just characters talking. I don't think that's necessarily his strength. No. Just because he does some sort of angular faces that I'm not as into. But when it's stuff like the running around or the Wally in the car stuff, it does have a bit more of a cool look to it. It's almost like he's better at inanimate objects or at motion than facial acting, I suppose, if you want to call it that.
For sure.
But yeah, it was a solid chapter. I don't have like a ton to say on it because it is very much the middle story of a story like this. But it was a solid version of it.
Yeah, I really like Jesse and Irie just because when you think about the Flash ladies, Jesse Quick is kind of the first of them. So the fact now that she's not just Wally's legacy, she's kind of the legacy to Jesse as well. So the fact that they're bonding as the Flash girls and stuff. I really like that. Again, that was one of the sweet moments, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even think of them interacting together. Certainly since, I mean, maybe before like New 52, but
but even then they were kind of, they were just kind of young kids. They weren't at this age where they are now, so the fact that they have that bonding, and we see that with, Wally and Wallace, or Bart and Jay and Bart and Max. But it's nice that, Jesse and Irie, that Adams is showing us their connection as well. So, just again, it really builds on the sweet moments. Adams knows that balance of action and, where to hit you with the emotions.
Yeah, I mean, this was an issue where it was the sweet moments and the planning building up to the hurrah that they might win. But of course, no, this is the dark moment of the story. This is where you're at your worst and lowest point. So
I believe that's called in Joseph Campbell the belly of the whale moment. So if I remember, my college level classes.
Fair enough. What are you rating The Flash 793?
I'm gonna give it 7.5.
Yeah, I agree with that. 7.5 seems fair.